What's up to you all accounting buffins? It is the time to learn more and learn extra on accounting with me, AB, and Mr. Ashraf. It is the A Squared team in the building. Welcome. Mr. Ashraf, how are you?
Well, thanks, and you, AB.
I'm
and
good.
how's the accounting boffins out there?
They're doing so well, though they don't have time because the exams are just around the corner. And I'm sure
Absolutely.
that most of them are practicing every now and then.
Yes, because very soon the June exam will be upon them. By the time they realize it, it's prelim exam, and then voila, the big one.
Sure. But already I think they should prepare for the big one.
Absolutely.
Starting now.
That's what I said all the time. From the beginning of the year, everything that they've been doing should be towards preparation for the big one.
Awesome. What are we
The big
doing
A.
what are we doing with them today?
Today, we're concentrating on a section called bank reconciliation statements.
Okay.
Right? And it's a section that they've done in grade 11 already, but we're going to show them a different angle, the curveballs that they have to watch out and look out for when it comes to grade 12.
Okay, well, look out for those angles, mindsetters. Remember, the A Squared team is in the building, and we want the A pluses for you guys, from you guys. So make sure that you guys deliver. Chat to me on Facebook.com/LearnExtra. Like the page, share the page, and tell all your friends, your classmates, even your fellow teachers. So tell them.
Absolutely. Tell them about it.
Exactly. We
Yeah.
like that because we're a big family that cares, and we want to work with you guys. On Twitter, follow us at LearnExtra. But we're having a giveaway, which is this Casio calculator. You can't do accounting without a calculator, can you?
No, you can't. Remember, we told them, develop a relationship. So that's the calculator that they need to win and develop a relationship with it.
Well, that's how you can cultivate that relationship through Mindset Learn Extra. All you need to do is to click on the link that is provided on Facebook.com/Learn Extra. It is for the test yourself question, and you'll get a form there. Answer those questions. I'm sure they should be easy, but they need you to think at the same time. So get your answers in by 12 o'clock on Monday, and you could stand a chance of winning these awesome Casio calculators. Winners from last week's show will be announced later on the show. But let's get on it.
Thank you, AB. Okay, grade 12s, remember bank reconciliation statements. And what is it that you need to remember? The focus will be obviously on the bank reconciliation statements and all the parts that go with it. Okay, now, before we move on there, let's take our challenge question. And the challenge question says, explain why it is important for a business to prepare a bank reconciliation statement each month. Right. Now, I'm sure that if you've done revision and you've been working through bank reconciliation statements, you've seen questions of a similar nature. So that is your challenge question for today. Right. Let's move on to the lesson. Now, if we look at the summary of a bank reconciliation statement, remember, when we talk about internal control, very often you find grade 12s just mentioning internal control. What is internal control? Internal control is to safeguard the assets of a business. And one of the assets that we are dealing with here is the moolah, the cash. So remember that in a business world, your control of cash is facilitated by what? By doing the following. You deposit cash intact daily. That means all the monies that are received are deposited intact daily. You don't take out of there for any reason. Why not? Because you will, that's what those word means, intact. That means you don't take any money out of there. At the same time, you realize that all payments are made by check. So the control of cash is of extreme importance, and therefore you will notice that this makes it easy to verify the balance on the bank statement. Remember, it's an external document coming from the bank statement to us, and we will then compare that with the bank account. And in the bank account, we are referring to, obviously, the cash receipts journal and the cash payments journal. Okay, internal records, our records. Now let's look at the type of transactions that we could be dealing with here. From your bank statement, You're going to peruse your bank statement, you're going to read through your bank statement, and you're going to glean important information. In other words, find important information like what? Watch, service fees, cash deposit fees, the deposit book, checkbook, government levies, levy on credit cards. All these transactions are important, grade 12s. Watch this very carefully. All these transactions are lumped together and they term, and we call them, the account that they get posted to is called bank charges. Okay? In other words, when you make this transaction in your cash payments journal, you will record it as bank charges. You do not show them as separate items. Rather, you add them together and show them as one amount, namely bank charges. Okay, now, there's a particular charge, right, that does not constitute, that does not become part of bank charges, and that is interest on overdraft. Maybe we'll mention it later on, but remember, that one is always kept separate. And what's the reason for that? The reason for that is that interest on overdraft is not a bank charge. It's not an operating expense. Rather, it is a financing expense. Okay, and you know very well that when you are doing your income statement, you keep your operating expenses together, whereas your financing expense, your interest expense, is kept as a separate item at the bottom of the income statement. Watch how we're tying up bank charges with the income statement. Take a note of that. Okay, now we come to stop orders, debit orders, and items that you would find in your bank statement. What do you find? You would find these are payments made by the bank, okay? And at the end of the day, what it basically means is that money is leaving our bank account. And therefore, it will be entered into the cash payments journal. And once again, remember that it would, this could include items like insurance, rates and taxes, etc. So when do we receive this information? When we receive our bank statement, we find the information and then we enter this information into our cash payments journal. Aha, here's the one that I spoke about. Can you see? We've kept it separate. Interest on overdraft. I've explained it already. We're not going to go into further explanation. What we do know is that it goes into my CPJ, and the account that it impacts on is the interest on overdraft. Okay, next one. Your bank debit note, where there's a debtor's check that's dishonored. Remember, an RD check means that the check has not been honored, it has been dishonored by the bank for various reasons. We're not going to go into the reasons. What we want to know is that this must be entered into my cash payments journal, and remember, it impacts on my debtors control account. Of extreme importance. Identify your double account, your double entry, the two accounts involved. In this case here, it's bank and debtors control. Right, next one. Sometimes you find on your bank statement and the item appears as interest on current account. In other words, what is happening? We are receiving money from the bank, and when that happens, it means that our bank account must increase in value. You have to debit your bank account. In other words, the journal that wherein it needs to be processed is your cash receipts journal, and the contra account is a debit to bank and a credit to interest on current account. Right, next item. Number 6, again, we're getting the information from our bank statement or a duplicate deposit slip, etc. But generally, we use the bank statement as our source of identifying this particular one. And this is what we call a direct deposit. Now, what does this mean? Where a debtor owes you money, instead of the debtor coming to pay at your business, what the debtor does is the debtor pays into your account at the nearest bank near to him or her. In that case, that is what we call a direct deposit. Money has gone directly into your bank account. When do you find out this information? When you receive your bank statement and you see, okay, there's a deposit from a debtor, and the contra account once again is a debit to bank and a credit to my debtor, namely the debtor's control. Entries recorded in my cash receipts journal. That's not the only direct deposit. You could get a direct deposit from a tenant, somebody who's renting premises from you. In that case, your double entry is a debit again to your bank account. Again, remember, it's entered into my cash receipts journal, and the account that is involved in this transaction is my rent income account. Okay, so what we are doing here is we are highlighting for you areas that could lead to problems between the bank account as it appears in our records and as the bank account or the bank statement's balance as per the bank statement. Now, just one note of item that we need to take note of. Remember, a reconciliation means what? Reconcile. It means bring together. What are we bringing together? The bank balance as per our records and the bank balance as per the bank's record. And when we're talking about the bank's record, how do we know that? When we receive our bank statement. So keep that in mind, that you are reconciling your records with the records of the bank. Right, we've dealt with a direct deposit by the tenant. Sometimes it happens that a check needs to be cancelled. Why? Because the goods or services that were delivered to us were substandard and we need to stop the check. So all of these here, and the other one that you need to take cognizance of is a stale check. Remember that the check becomes stale after 6 months. So if you notice, always be wary of this. Look at your bank statement or your bank reconciliation statement, identify the dates and see when a check is older than 6 months, then that check becomes stale and it needs to be cancelled. And where do we cancel it? In our cash receipts journal. Now, the cancellation one can be a bit challenging, so listen carefully. One, if a check is stale and no replacement check is necessary, all that you do is cancel in your CRJ. Single entry, done and dusted. However, if a replacement check is necessary, what do? We cancel in the CRJ, reissue in the CPJ a new check, and that check will also appear in your bank reconciliation statement as an outstanding check. Please keep that in mind. And then obviously we're looking at errors that are made in the cash payments journal. The two possibilities, either the amount is undercast. If it's undercast, enter in your cash payments journal. If the check is overcast, enter in your cash receipts journal. Once again, grade 12s, this sounds like a grade 11 lesson. You are right. It is a grade 11 lesson because this is revision on the bank reconciliation statement. And then we'll show you how other questions could be posed regarding the bank reconciliation statement. Right, and then we have items like a duplicate deposit not yet credited by the bank. That means they're appearing in your cash receipts journal. They are not appearing in your bank statement, and therefore you will enter into your bank reconciliation statement as credit outstanding deposits. Well, guys, that's basically a summary of not everything. It's a summary of the transactions. But if you want to know more, the place to be is Learn Extra Live. So don't stray or go away, because we're going to give you something food for thought. Stay with us.
I like that. And on top of that, as you said, that it is a revision rather for some mindsets. Ramabele says, AB, I'm a grade 11 accounting learner and I'm loving this show. Big ups to you guys. So thank you, and to all other mindsets. Tell your friends to tune in, because after the break, Ashraf and I are going to give you a food for thought. So stay tuned. Welcome back, Mindsets, and a big shout out to everyone that is chatting to me on Facebook. I'll call your names because you love that, Mindsets. But otherwise, still chat with us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at LenExtra. But now, the moment that we've all been waiting for, to hear the winner on our last week's counting show for this awesome Casio calculator is, drum roll please, Ashraf.
Yes, let's go for it.
Are you ready? It's Khanyongo Mutileng. Khanyongo Mutileng, congratulations. This awesome gadget is coming to you. Khanyongo. Yeah, Khanyongo.
Well done, well done,
Mutileng.
well done.
Congratulations. You still have got a chance, Mindsetters, up until 12 o'clock on Monday. So submit your question, your answers on the Test Yourself link that is provided on Facebook.
Well done, Abby.
Well done.
Well done, well done. Okay, do
Let's
we move
continue.
on?
Yeah.
Right.
But
Okay,
you should keep
Mindsetters.
there are questions coming, because later on we're
Yes,
going to be
yes.
answering them.
Let those questions roll in, because you will see that during the lesson, some of your questions may be answered. So, voila, good for you. But if you find that we haven't answered those questions, and surely AB will tell us, we will take those questions and go through them. So if there's anything that's troubling you, now's the time to ask. Okay? And don't for 1 minute think it may be a dumb question. You rather blush now than be pale-faced in the exams. Because you could have said, I should have asked. And when you see that question in the exam and said, why didn't I ask? You know what I'm saying? So, if
Never
there's
say
uncertainty,
never.
ask.
Do it now.
Exactly. Okay, guys, let's take the first part of the question, which is an appetizer. You know, it's just to get you going. So, it's a true and false. The first question says, an internal auditor will want to inspect the bank reconciliation statement at the end of each month. Of course, that is true. Why? Because we know that part of the responsibility of the internal auditor is to check internal control. So definitely the internal auditor will want to inspect the bank reconciliation statement every month. A debit balance on the bank statement reflects an unfavorable balance. Think about it. Bank statement with a debit balance. What is the bank saying? The bank is saying that you are owing us money. Now keep this in mind. And this is the essence of a bank reconciliation statement. Just to explain, watch this here. When we have a bank balance, if that's our bank account, and if we have 100 Rand in the bank account, which is a favorable bank balance, remember that in the books of the bank, our business, ABC or AB Traders, let's make AB happy there. He's got a business. Okay, AB?
Yeah.
What will the bank say? The bank will say, we are owing AB Traders 100 Rand. Notice, our books has a debit balance and the books of the bank has a credit balance. The question says, a debit balance on the bank statement. The bank is sending you a debit balance, telling you what? AB, you are owing us money. Therefore, this statement is also true. Right, next one. Service fees and interest on overdraft will be recorded as bank charges in the cash payments journal. What did I tell you early on? I alluded to this specifically, and I said, be careful. Be careful about what? Be careful about interest on overdraft is not a bank charge. Remember, it's a separate item. Yes, service fees will be a bank charge, but not the interest on the overdraft. Therefore, this statement is false. Right? And then the last one, on the true and false, a post-dated check. Let's first clarify what is a post-dated check. A post-dated check is a check that is dated for a later date. In other words, if today is May the 8th, right? And if I write out a check for the 31st of May, right now, that means I have written out a post-dated check, a check for a later date. Now the question says, a post-dated check is issued by Ace Traders in September, but dated February 2012, right? We wrote out the check in September, but it's dated for February 2012. It will only be entered in the cash payments journal in February. True or false? Come on, have a go. The answer is false. Why? Why is this false? Because a post-dated check, the moment it is written out, in my example, I said I wrote out a check for the 31st of May today. I will enter into my CPJ today, and that is important. So a post-dated check that is issued is entered on the date that it is written out, not on the date of the check. All right, so keep that in mind as far as post-dated checks are concerned. With regards to post-dated checks that we receive, remember, a post-dated check that we receive, what do we do with it? We keep it until the date appears on the check, which corresponds with the existing date. For example, if we've received in January a check dated for the 8th of May, then today we would have entered that check into our cash receipts journal. So it's kept in a post-dated check register, and it is only deposited on the date that appears on that particular check. Okay, so that's it on post-dated checks. In this question, with information relating to Ace Traders for September, we are expected to do the following. 1, calculate the correct bank balance of Ace Traders on the 30th of September using figures that should be entered in the cash journals. Show all workings. Very, very, very important. Right. So we're going to go right into 1.2, and we're going to look at information now to see what information are we going to use to enter into our bank balance. Right, let's look at check number 1. It's entry number 1, sorry. It says check number 657, dated the 2nd of March, right? Still not reflected in the bank statement, an amount of 2,000 Rand. What did I say? I said, watch out for the dates. Now, the date is the 2nd of March, right? That means this item is still not reflecting on my bank statement. This is a check that we have issued that's not appearing on my bank statement. It's dated the 2nd of March. What period are we working for? Remember, we are working with information in September. So March, April, May, June, July, August. Clearly you can see that this is what we call a stale check. In other words, the check is no longer usable. It is no longer negotiable. Why? Because it is older than 6 months, and therefore we now need to enter this into our cash receipts journal to cancel it. Therefore, there's my cash journal, and it was check number 657. So therefore, we say check number 657, which is your stale check. We can actually write here that it's a stale check. It's a check that you can't use anymore. $657, a stale check, right? And the value of the check was 2,000 Rand. Okay, that was from my information and that amount is now dealt with. Let's look at the next item. A deposit dated the 11th of September. Right? Remember, we're working at the end of September. Not reflected in the bank statement, 43,000. Now, I want to do this in a different color just to bring it specifically to your attention. What do we know about deposits? We know that if a deposit is made, then surely, promptly, that deposit needs to appear on my bank statement. Okay? Now, they're telling you a deposit dated the 11th of September. That means a long time ago. Why? Because in this technological age, the moment you make a deposit, very soon after that, it should appear on your bank statement. They're telling you it's not reflected on your bank statement. In other words, something is not hunky-dory. There seems to be a problem somewhere. Right. Now, in terms of the prudence concept in accounting, where we realize possible losses, we immediately make the entry. And what is that entry we're going to put through? We're going to say debit loss of cash or theft of cash. We're going to debit an expense account, and we're going to credit our bank account. In other words, what we're going to say is 43,000 loss of cash, right? And remember that that is a cash payments journal entry, so it's reducing. So in other words, what we are saying is that it's not appearing on my bank statement. Something is fishy here. There's a problem with it. Therefore, we are reversing the entry. We are debiting an expense account, loss of cash, and we are crediting our bank account. In other words, that entry is going into my cash payments journal. Remember, this entry here went into my cash receipts journal, and this entry goes into my cash payments journal. All right, next one. A dishonored check originally received from a debtor on the 15th of September, reflected in the bank statement, but not in the journals. In other words, it is appearing where? Ask yourself that question. Where is it appearing? It's appearing in my bank statement. That is where it is appearing. Where is it not appearing? It's not appearing in my journals. In other words, I now need to make sure that it appears in my journals. Dishonored check, you remember from our lesson summary at the beginning, we said a dishonored check will be entered into my cash payments journal. Right, so let's just get the amount there. And the amount is, this is the page we're working on. The amount is 9,500. Therefore, 9,500. What is this? This is the RD check. What do we know about the RD check? The RD check must be entered into my cash payments journal. Therefore, notice I am subtracting that amount. Okay, so that was my balance prior to my bank recon, and these are my entries that I have to put through. Okay, let's look at the next one. Check number 931, dated the 18th of September, not reflected in my bank statement. It means it's not reflecting in my bank statement, so has nothing to do with my journals. Will be dealt with just now. Check number 936, dated the 30th of October, not reflected in the bank statement. Same story. These are appearing in my journals. They're not appearing in my bank statement. Let's just go through this one again. Check number 936, dated not reflected in the bank statement. That means it is in my journal. It is in my journals. I have record of it, but it's not appearing in the bank statement. Obviously, these are items that need to be entered into my bank reconciliation statement. But that's not part of this part of the question. Then, deposit dated the 28th of September, not reflected on the bank statement. At this point, just understand something. If items do not appear in your bank statement, that means the bank does not have knowledge of them. We will then have to enter it into the bank reconciliation statement. Why is that? Because your bank reconciliation statement, listen carefully, accounting stars out there, your bank reconciliation statement is an extension of your bank statement. It's a continuation of your bank statement. And that is why items that are not on the bank statement will have to be entered into my bank reconciliation statement. Okay, so we'll come back to those. We haven't dealt with them as yet. Bank charges in the bank statement, not in the journals. So, important. Remember the acronym RTFQ. Read the full question. Bank charges in the bank statement, appearing in the bank statement. Where don't they appear? In my journals. Therefore, I now need to enter this where? Into my cash payments journal, an amount of 1,200. Let's do that. 1,200 is my amount of my bank charges. And what do we find? We now find that we can do our calculation here, where we find that we take our 60,000, which is the balance that we started with, add the 2,000 minus the 43,000 minus the 9,500 minus the 1,200, and you should get an amount of 8,300, I think it is. Okay, so what does this mean? This means, therefore, we have taken all the information, right, and done what with the information? Extracted what needed to go to my journals. And in my journals, it was either a cash receipts entry or it was a cash payments journal, and therefore it had to be subtracted off the bank account. Therefore, we added these two amounts, 62,000, because that was a cash receipts journal entry, and then we subtracted all the items in the CPJ. Notice I've put brackets around the figure. Now, just a note of caution on here. How you do the calculation is not important as long as you understand that you have to calculate the correct bank balance. So in this case here, we have now done the correct bank balance on the 30th of September by entering items that needed to update our journals. That's it. But there's more to follow, and you have to stay with us to find out the more.
So true. And you know what? After the break, I think I should provide you with a Casio calculator.
I think so too.
You
Very
need one.
important. I need one, yes.
Otherwise, a big shout out to Pulane Jane, who says, I'd like to send my shout out as Tembi class. A shout out to all the students from Sinanka Hwedi Secondary School. Sinanka Hwedi Secondary School. A shout out to all of you guys. But see you guys after the break. Don't move. Welcome back, Mindsetters. Now, exciting news after this show, after the last show at 7 o'clock, we have the Rap Show. It is all about sports reviews, interviews, school sports that are happening around your school. So make sure that you tune in at 7 o'clock. We are going to be having the Rap, which is a sports show. So for you guys that are accounting buffins, you know you need to exercise your brains also and exercise your body. So sports and education, they go hand in glove also.
Thank you, Avi. Definitely. You got to, a healthy body
Comes
leads
from
to a Healthy mind.
That's true.
Okay, so guys, make sure that you take your regular breaks, that you take your regular exercise, keep the adrenaline going, because when you sit down and do the accounting, you need to have your wits about you. Okay,
Well said.
thank you, AB. Right, guys, we're moving on with the question, and the next part of the question said, calculate, use the information to prepare the bank reconciliation statement of Ace Traders on the 30th of September 2011. Right, now, the first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to start off with the balance as per our bank statement. Let's find the information for that first. Watch here. Balance as per bank statement on the 30th of September. Right. If you recall what I said that my bank reconciliation statement is a continuation of my bank statement. So if I'm continuing from a certain point, I have to start off where the other one ended. Where did the other part end? My bank statement ended on a favorable balance of 17,600. In other words, guys, what are we saying? We're saying the following. Watch. It's a credit balance as per bank statement, right? And that amount is an amount of 17,600. So therefore, 17,600 as my opening balance. Remember what I said. Always remember that look at the information. What am I told in the information? I'm told that my bank statement has a favorable balance of 17,600. So that's where I started from. Now watch this question very carefully. My bank balance was 60,000. Do you recall we already amended that figure? Right. Now, when I compared my bank balance with my balance as per my bank statement, surely there was some discrepancy. There was a difference. And the difference was the 42,400 given to me in my question, which necessitated, I then had to go back and say, fine, there's a difference between what I say I've got in the bank and what the bank say that I've got in my account. So obviously, the word reconciliation, and I'm sure there were times, AB, that you had to reconcile with some people. We
Yeah.
won't say who. And the mindsetters out there had to do some kind of reconciliation
And yourself.
in our lives. Definitely.
all of us.
Right? So what we're saying is sort out the difference. Now look at it from an accounting perspective. We're reconciling the bank statement balance, which says 17,600. My bank account says 60,000. Clearly you can see a difference. Right. So we've sorted the bank out. Let's go to the bank recon. So we start our bank recon with a credit balance as per bank statement, 17,600. Now, if you recall, this one is done and dusted. We sorted it out. Remember, we put it where it belonged. This particular one was also sorted out because we put it and we used the approach that the 43,000 Rand, because it did not appear as a deposit, we immediately reversed the entry. Right. Now remember I told you, I said there's another possibility that you could do. Had we not done what we did by putting the amount in my cash payments journal, we could have put this as an outstanding balance again in the bank statement. Okay? So there are two methods of dealing with this particular one. This outstanding deposit dated the 11th of September. And the two possibilities are, one, you show it again in your bank recon as an outstanding check. Let me repeat that. You show it again in your bank reconciliation statement as an outstanding deposit, or you do what we did, and which is the more correct one, we immediately wrote it off where? In my cash payments journal. And remember I said We debited stock, cash lost or theft of cash, and we credited our bank account. So in terms of what we have done in this particular scenario, we have dealt with that figure already. The dishonored check also done and dusted. Now watch here. Check number 931, dated the 18th of September, not reflected in the bank statement. Okay? So we also had to do something with this particular item. Let's go back to our question here where we worked, and you can see that here's it. Can you see? Check number 931, dated the 18th of September. It's not reflecting in the bank statement. Therefore, what are we going to do with it? We're going to enter it into the bank statement as debit outstanding checks. And what are outstanding checks? Outstanding checks are those checks that are not presented for payment. Okay? So in other words, we gave the check number 931, we gave it to AB here, and we all know that AB is a cheese boy, so he didn't need the money. Am I right, AB?
Continue.
Okay, and therefore, AB did not present that check for payment. Can you see? We've written out the check. We've entered it in our books. But because the person we've given the check to did not cash that check, the bank has no knowledge that we wrote out the check. Therefore, we say debit outstanding check. Okay, so that's check number 931, and the amount was 4,800. Check number 931 for 4,800. Notice in the debit column, debit outstanding checks. Right, next one. So this one is dealt with. Check number 936, dated the 30th of October, not reflected in the bank statement. Now, there's a distinct difference between these two checks. What is the difference? One, this check number 931, dated the 18th of September, is a current dated check. It's a check that AB did not need the money right then and there, therefore did not deposit it. But this check here, number 936, dated the 30th of October, that's given to James, there's no way that James can present this check for payment. AB is laughing. Why can't James present this check for payment? Notice the difference, and this is what I want to draw your attention to. This is a current dated check, 18th of September. But check number 936 is dated the 30th of October. The only time James can present this check for payment is on the 30th of October. Up until that time, this check is what we call a post-date check that we have issued and cannot be presented for payment. Got it? So notice, two checks. Both of them go to my bank reconciliation statement. Watch. This check number is 936 for 10,200. So it's check number 936 for 10,200. Okay, both outstanding checks, both checks not presented for payment. But this one here, for what reason? Because simple, it was just not presented for payment. But this one here, 936, is because it's a post-dated check. It cannot be presented for payment. The only time James can present this check for payment is on the 30th of October. So until such time, this check will appear in my bank reconciliation statement as an outstanding check. Got it? Good. Right, next item. So we sorted with that one. A deposit dated the 28th of September. Right now, the question that you may be asking is that why are these two deposits treated differently? Remember the one of the 11th of September. It's been a long time. This one here, dated the 28th of September, it's possible that it's a timing difference, meaning we've already received our bank statement by the 25th, 26th, and any deposit made after that obviously would not appear on my bank statement. It's impossible because you have the bank statement in your possession already. Therefore, this is a credit outstanding deposit of 5,700. So we say credit outstanding deposit and that amount was 5,700. Okay. So we've got that one sorted. This one here, we dealt with in our CPJ. In other words, what have we done now? We've taken all the information and we've put it into where it belongs. Going back to my bank reconciliation statement now, what do I now do? Remember, I have to bring in my balance as per bank account. And if you remember the calculation we had, we said debit balance as per bank account, and the amount was an amount of 8,300. Okay, let's add now. Let's just move the calculator so we can add 17,600 plus the 5,700 will give me an amount of 23,300. 23,300. Okay, and then let's take the 4,800 plus the 10,200 plus the 8,300, and my figure is 23,300. Voila, AB. Can you see what happened? My bank reconciliation statement worked out. It means that you have now reconciled your bank statement balance with your balance as per your bank account. Okay. We had another question here, and it says, refer to the outstanding deposit of 43,000 Rand, dated the 11th of September. Why should the internal auditor be concerned? State 2 points. Now, obviously, this is a large deposit. What do we know? That once we make a deposit, it should appear ASAP. Where? On my bank statement. Obviously, this means that we've made a deposit and it should appear on my bank statement. Now, obviously, this is not happening. Why? So, like I said earlier on, it alludes to something that there may be fraud involved, right? And there may be rolling of cash. Now, rolling of cash is not rolling the mullah. It is rolling it, but stashing it. It could mean that there is some kind of theft that is going on. It just sounds like a very fancy term, rolling of cash, but it's tantamount, it's nothing else but theft. Okay? So remember this here, that as a result of the amount not appearing on my bank statement, it is possible that there may be fraud involved. It may be possible that there may be theft involved. It also may be possible that there is an error. Okay? We could have made an error on our deposit slip by changing a single digit, and the money could have been deposited into somebody else's account. Okay, so therefore, what is important for you, grade 12s, is to remember that whenever you are dealing with bank reconciliations, I will now take you back to your challenge question. And what was your challenge question? Your challenge question was, why is it important for a business to prepare a bank reconciliation statement each month? Clearly you can see the answer. The answer is that to identify possibility of fraud, to identify errors, to what? Using our bank account to an external source, namely the bank statement. So you can see in answering this here, we've also answered the challenge question. I know you have hundreds of questions,
Yeah,
Amy,
and we're out of
but
time.
time is of the essence.
Okay, let me just take just one question,
Okay, go
because I
for it.
have a lot of questions. Mr. Ivy, can you ask Mr. Ashraf which book does he? Okay, no, let's check this one. I think this one is more relevant. So if a post-dated check does not appear in the CRJ, but on the bank statement, it will be entered into the bank reconciliation. If yes, as what?
No, it means if a post-dated check, it's either a post-dated check that we have issued, it's entered into your cash payments journal, it's not appearing in your bank statement, but will appear in the bank reconciliation statement as an outstanding check. That's where it will be.
Okay, how do you know which balance to use? Balance as per statement or balance as per bank account when you start your bank reconciliation?
When you start off your bank reconciliation, always start off with the given information. The question will lead you and tell you that this is your bank statement balance or your bank account balance, depending on which one. But generally, you start off your bank recon with your balance as per bank statement.
All right.
Guys, that's it for today. Please prepare, work with your past papers, and at the end of the day, aim for the moon, because definitely you're going to be a shining star.
So true. Mind sitters and shining stars. Always remember, we're here to help you. Whenever you're struggling, we do have a help desk that is dedicated to help you guys with any questions. So you don't have to be alone. We are here for you. Let's work together because we love working with you guys. But for today, that's where we end it. We love you and thank you so much. We're leaving you with an A squared. Peace.
Cheers. Bye-bye.